What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video with On Point Politics. And today we're doing a 2028 Electoral College map. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video just like this. And before we actually get into the rest of the video, we are almost at our fundraising goal for our next national poll that we are going to conduct. This national poll will ask questions in terms of Trump's favorable rating, Vance's approval rating, whether the economy is getting better or worse, the direction of the country, some 2028 polling, which we will cover here, as well as the congressional generic ballot, and as well as party favorable ratings, approval of deportations, the approval on the economy, immigration, and two individuals who've never had a national poll done before. We are going to poll their favorable ratings, and those will be revealed once the poll comes out. So make sure to go ahead in the description down below to go ahead and donate to the national poll. We are almost at our goal. We are 90% in terms of completing the goal. We are almost done as of right now. Looking at the Electoral College map for 2028, the first thing we should do is actually look at the betting markets. And the betting markets do provide, some sort of insight into, what's kind of going on here. But essentially, Vance is at a 27% chance in the betting odds of winning the general election, with Gavin Newsom at 13, making him the betting odds favorite to win. But there are some issues I do want to talk about. The PPI report for the Trump administration was not great. Voters are angry about inflation and a lot of polling that we've seen. And I believe that Vance is going to carry that burden heading into 2028 if things do not change, in which I suspect the national environment to probably end up being about a tied environment. So it does get a little bluer from the last election. I expect both candidates to get 75 million votes in the national popular vote, which is actually what I have them getting both right now, with Gavin Newsom actually winning in the national popular vote by 0.2%. So it's a very close election at the national level, and it's a very close election at the swing state level. They're basically all pure toss-ups, essentially. And we will go through the map and fill out all of these by state. So the safe Republican states are Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Montana, all of Nebraska, excluding the 2nd Congressional District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and South Carolina are all in the safe Republican column. Now, the only other state that retains its safe status from 2024 that was a safe Republican state is the state of Florida. It barely votes for Vance by over 12 points. The state is about a 12.2 percentage point win for Vance. So funny enough, we actually look at the state of Florida. Donald Trump ended up getting about 6.1 million votes in the state of Florida. So you can actually see here, he got about 6.1 million and Harris got about 4.6 million in the state. In my estimations, Vance is getting about 6.2 million and Newsom's getting about 4.8 million. So both candidates retrospectively actually performed better. Vance by like 100,000 votes and Newsom by like 200,000 votes, hence why he gains a point in the popular vote in the state of Florida. So that's why you end up seeing him like pick up about a point there. But other than that, those are all of the safe states. Iowa, Ohio, and Texas will now fall under the 12-point column, given the slight national shift to the left. California, Oregon, Washington are still all going to be in the safe Democrat column, with all of them actually getting bluer this time around. However, Vance does actually gain raw votes from Trump's performance in 2024. So that is actually something to take note of as of right now. He does end up doing better in the raw vote totals, but Newsom scores a little bit over 10 million votes in California. He wins Oregon by 16 points. Donald Trump lost the state of Oregon by 14 points in 2024. And in Washington, we actually see Gavin wins it by 18.9%, which is a slight improvement from Harris's performance, but not nearly as good enough as, people would expect. But he does improve in all three of the Western Western Coast liberal states. Colorado is now in the safe column, as well as Hawaii. Colorado is now about a 13.9 percentage point win. So it is a 14-point win in the electoral college for Gavin Newsom, which is a bigger win than what Joe Biden won it by in the last election cycle. Illinois, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Maryland are all going to be in the safe Democrat column, which when you add all of those up, that provides Newsom plus Maine's first congressional district. That gives Newsom 177 safe electoral college votes on this map. So it is a very different map from the last election because, Illinois wasn't safe, Colorado wasn't safe in the last election. So that definitely does cause a little bit of a ruckus here. And Illinois ends up shifting to the left by about 3 points in this election. So it ends up going back. New York shifts about a point to the left. Connecticut ends up shifting a little bit more left, probably like half a point to the left or about a point. Rhode Island also shifts left as well. Massachusetts stays about the same from the last election. It's only like a half point bluer. Vermont shifts to the left by about 2 percentage points. Delaware is actually slightly closer in this election, which is kind of interesting. But this is because Vance improves with black voters in the whole country pretty much. He actually improves on his margin with them. And he does better with some white college educated voters. The states where he actually loses the most ground or a lot of like white college educated voters are present or white college, like white non-college, like blue collar workers. Those are the states where he loses the most ground in. So like Kansas and Nebraska and Colorado and Kentucky and in Arkansas, in Indiana, Texas, he loses more ground in those states than like some of the states like in South Carolina or like even Mississippi or like Maryland, even to begin with. The states with a lot of like black population, he will not lose as much ground just because of the fact he gains with them. Even from Trump's performance, he does better with them, just given how bad of a candidate Newsom is with that demographic. Moving on to the likely Republican states, Texas, Alaska, Iowa, Ohio, and Maine's second congressional district all fall in the likely categorization. Texas is an 11-point win this time around. So, it's about a 3-point shift to the left almost. Alaska is like a 2-point shift to the left. Iowa is a 10.9 percentage point win. So it shifts to the left by almost 3 points. And Ohio is only a 9.2 percentage point win. So these are definitely closer, but are still better than Trump's 2020 performance. So it doesn't put him completely out of the game of winning, the election, right? Now, looking at the likely Democrat states, Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, and New Jersey, as well as Maine, are all in this category together, including Nebraska's second congressional district, which does fall in that likely category today, given the margin in the state at large only being a 17.5-point win. A lot of that shift is going to come from Nebraska's second getting a lot bluer. So that's why you're going to see that movement. In New Mexico, the state shifts about 2 points to the right, given some of the Hispanic vote trends away from Republicans. So that's definitely going to be a big booster in the state. Minnesota shifts 2 points to the left as well. So that's another marginal shift there. With New Jersey, we have about roughly, it's only a half-point shift in New Jersey. Both candidates actually end up doing better in the state. So New Jersey actually doesn't shift that much to the right, believe it or not, or to the left, believe it or not. And Virginia is the one that shifts a little bit to the left by like about 1.5 points. But again, with the black vote shifting right, you do have a little bit of regression with Newsom in some votes. Like he does worse in the total of the state. Maine is interesting because that one really shifts to the left by like 1.5 points or like a little bit more than 1.5 points. And that one ends up becoming like a lockstep Democrat. But given Vance's improvement in some of like the white college educated areas, New Hampshire is actually not going to shift that far to the left. It only shifts to the left by about 1 point in this election, even though most of the time it will usually shift away from the incumbent party by a pretty substantial amount. That does not seem to be the case in this election. The only other lean Republican state on the map, or the only lean Republican state on the map, is Arizona, where Vance actually is winning it by 3.5 points. So he's kind of maintaining his performance from Trump in terms of raw total votes, but Gavin does a little bit better in the state, but it's not quite enough to actually flip it. And we see that in the tilt Republican states, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan all go for Vance by less than 2 points. In the state of Nevada, he wins it by 0.3%, which is only like a 10,000, 11,000 vote margin. So it's really close in Nevada, but it narrowly ekes it out with some white college-educated voters kind of coming home to him in exchange for losing some of the Hispanic vote. In Georgia, he wins the state by 1.5 points. He actually does better than Trump's raw vote total in the state, possibly given the overturning of gay marriage. So that's something that, might possibly affect this. And Vance's more wider coalition is definitely going to help him out in Georgia. But at the same time, the state does get closer because you do have Democrats improving with some black voters and white voters in Georgia. But I think Gavin Newsom, being from California, is also going to give him a really hard time in the state. North Carolina, I actually think he will actually perform better. Like, he'll improve more from Trump's margin. Gavin Newsom will, than even in Georgia, because the type of voters that would vote for Newsom are more situated in North Carolina than as opposed to Georgia. So he actually, even though North Carolina votes to the right of Georgia, it's only a 1.8 percentage point win. So it's actually way closer than last time. And it's basically like a pure toss-up swing state. Pennsylvania, and this one is only a 0.1 percentage point margin. So it's really close. It's literally like a 20,000 vote margin in the state. And in Pennsylvania, it's like a 0.2 percentage point margin as of right now. So really close margins in the Rust Belt states. And they're actually voting to the left of Nevada. Which is quite interesting. I mean, a lot of them did actually vote to the left of Nevada, but it seems like Nevada is caught up to kind of like the Rust Belt states to a degree. And then in Michigan, you see that this is the only state that ends up breaking off to Newsom because of Wisconsin and its liberal trends in Milwaukee and a lot of Illinois retirees. With Vance losing some of the Trump support from his base and still making it up in other areas, in Wisconsin, it's not quite going to be enough. And I do suspect him to lose Wisconsin to Newsom in 2028. As of right now, this is just kind of like my preliminary projection. As time goes on, we can look at different, ways that the map could kind of shape up. But right now, I'd expect about a tied national popular vote and all of the battleground states to be exceptionally close. If Newsom were to win the Electoral College, it probably would be through Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada. That's probably what would end up happening. You would end up getting this map or possibly get like a 270 map. That's kind of what I see right now. I still think North Carolina might be a little bit out of reach for him, and even Georgia to a degree, because the black vote might actually be somewhat out of reach for him. But who knows? It just really depends on how the next 4 years shape up. So if you guys did enjoy this analysis, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.